praise your name, Jesus. We are here today, Father, celebrating a life that was poured out in worship to you, Jesus. That was so full of love and so full of worship, unconditional love, non-judgmental love, unconditional worship. A life that believed so firmly and so truly that you give and you take away, and that in every season you are to be praised. So we gather here as her community, as her family, as her friends, and pour out our worship to you, Jesus. We have nothing else to give in gratitude of knowing such a wonderful life, Father, but our worship. We love your ways. You may be seated.
Karen Diane Abels was born to Joe and Louise Abels in 1965. Her 3 older sisters were told they were getting a special surprise, so they were hoping for a pony. But they grew to love their baby sister. Her dad died when she was 7, and she grew up in a house of girls. She started memorizing verses in prims and missionettes, and at an early age, she established her love for music and books, books, books. As a young teen, she moved from Sacramento, California to Elgin, Oregon. It was there that she met a boy named Todd Elkins. They went to the same high school and church, but were just friends. However, many years later, Todd confessed to Karen that he had liked her back in high school and that he was the one who had hoped to get her attention by taping a dried, dead mouse in her locker. It wasn't until they were both attending college in Springfield, Missouri, that Karen and Todd fell in love. They got married and raised 4 lovely, lively kids. After moving to Albany, Karen worked as a nurse at Albany General until she happily retired to become a full-time mom to her energetic crew. Devin is Karen's D-boy. They enjoyed deep conversations, and his charm and wit kept her entertained. She described him as intelligent, patient, relaxed, laid back like his mama, and adored by his sisters. Karen recently wrote this description of life with her daughters. Alyssa is an artist, creative, visionary, and charcoal smudged, with a messy room and odd belongings scattered throughout the house. A natural-born manager, one day she will rule the world, clothing it in a colorful mural. Eleni is a giver of gifts, a champion of the underdog, a people watcher, and a phenomenal problem solver. I'm fairly certain she leaps tall buildings in a single bound when no one is watching, and all with great hair. Aaliyah is half ninja and half Jedi. Charming, silly, and quick-witted just the way her mama likes her humor. She has a dancer's heart and the feet of a wounded water buffalo. She trips on air, but does so gracefully. I'm Karen, the ringleader, which is rather amusing. It's like appointing a beatnik poet to be in charge of a Wall Street mogul, a construction foreman, and a UN ambassador. Quite the interesting dynamic. If you've been to Karen's home, you know that she loved travel and maps. She loved to study different countries and imagine life in different cultures, and she especially loved to travel. She was an excellent photographer and writer, and her photo essays were filled with vivid descriptions that transported the viewer along on the journey with her. Karen's life was filled with friends. While she was ill, a steady stream of friends kept her company, and her brother-in-law commented, "I didn't know one person could have this many friends." The continuing flow of comments on her Facebook page gives a glimpse of the impact she had on those around her. One friend wrote, "I love you for loving me and reaching out when I thought I was alone. You were Jesus in flesh, living it, speaking it, and walking it." Karen loved words, and her own words sum her up best. "I'm so laid back, you might have to poke me with a stick to see if I'm really alive. But I balance sloth with a love for travel, languages, reading, cooking, and gardening. I like sugar plum tea, morning, children, dogs, fireplaces, calla lilies, swings, laughter, lemons, lilacs, maps, autumn, irony, foreign languages, words, ballet, poetry, rain, irises, travel, singing, mint, blackberries, globes, Thai food, dark chocolate, word games, ginger, white roses, naps, geography, and waterfalls. I don't like making phone calls, okra, wearing a watch, stinging insects, heights, stress, red tape, bossy people, summer heat over 90 degrees, weeds, sharks, dead religion, big city traffic, Hemingway's writing, poisonous snakes, slugs, lima beans, dishonesty, manipulation, or chemotherapy. I'm almost always happy. Sometimes I think if you examined each of my individual cells under a microscope, they would smile up at you, probably with a goofy, too big grin. Karen met adversity with strength and grace. Her true love was God. She loved to worship Him, learn about Him, speak with Him, listen to Him, and share Him. She wrote, "As humans, we can communicate with logic by means of words, and we can communicate with emotion by means of expressions. God is a spirit, and He communicates with our spirits in a way that is foreign to us. I love that about Him. He doesn't just speak English to me, He speaks Karen. He knows what delights me and what I take seriously. He knows more about me than I know about myself. And He speaks in ways that penetrate my spirit with warning or encouragement or joy, ways that are unique to me." She continues, "My prayer for you today is that you will recognize God speaking to you in the voice of your spirit, something that stirs you uniquely. Then revel in the delight. God speaks you too."
You can tell I really love Karen in order to get up here, because this is not my thing. So. I accidentally referred to the service the other day as Karen's wedding. I'm not so sure that was a mistake. I actually happen to think it's more appropriate than it may seem at first. I've never witnessed a love affair quite like the one between Karen and her God. And And all of this, after all, is really less about her leaving us and more about joining her God, her beloved, her bridegroom. So as tradition has it at a wedding, the friend of the bride gives a toast in their honor. So I am privileged to have this opportunity and willingly offer my toast to the beautiful bride, Karen. There were so many things I loved about Karen. Her laugh, her amazing ability with words, her brilliant mind, her non-judgmental attitude, her positive outlook. Karen and I enjoyed each other's company on many levels, but where our connection was the strongest was spiritual. We talked about our God and Savior by the hours. She taught me more about his character than any other person on this earth. Karen was totally and completely in love with her Savior. One of my favorites of her quotes is, "My God gave me breath, my Savior takes my breath away." She loved his ways. When she spoke of her love, her eyes took on a sparkle. When she sensed his presence, she was often led to a prostrate position on the floor. Seeking him was the passion of her life. She didn't seek his blessings, she simply wanted him. Her submission to his will and her readiness to be broken for the sake of others was simply an indication of her devotion to his lordship in her life. Her steadfast faith and trust in her God was nothing less than stunning. She, I believe, was one of his favorites, and he became the love of her life. So, I offer this toast to the bride, my friend, Karen. The veil has been lifted, and you now see your beloved clearly face to face. All heaven rejoices for the two of you, and God's joy is complete. In my own mind's eye, you, Karen, the one who always had just the right words to describe your devotion, are now completely speechless in the presence of your bridegroom. You are basking in his splendor and worshiping in his holiness. He is your bridegroom, and you his bride, and this truly is a divine romance. And then to end, I want to quote from one of Karen's favorite books, The Divine Romance. It said, "Past, present, future shall dissolve into one, then disappear. Then I, as part of the bride, shall love him with all the power and passion of my new being." And that's what she's doing right now.